Tell me about your day today and how it went.
Well, it went pretty much like we hoped. Those fish are congregating down there on the Niagara Bar, and it stabilized a little bit for a day and a half now. So there's pockets of fish, and they're getting active again. I mean, we had a really good bite. So um, my guys came out of Pennsylvania, and they were looking for the type of action that we had today, and we were fortunate to pretty much land on them.
Yeah, it went fast today. Can you tell me a little bit about the program?
So, a lot of our bites have been coming in the top 50, whether they're kings or cohos. But, we tried we tried to run some deeper lines, but most of our action was 50 and up, and all stuffed with big alewives. All the fish were pillaging those bait fish that are on the way in to spawn, and we took advantage of that. I think the coho bite's so good because probably 2 years ago we had a really good natural hatch. We got a few rivers here that pump out the fish pretty good. But other than that, I think also there's so many really large alewives that, if they're not big enough to fill up on those, they're much more receptive to our little coho flies. Because the alewives are big this year. They're still eating their share of those, but they're like a little change it up a little bit too.
Yeah, I saw the spoons you were running today were bigger spoons. You doing that to try to match those alewives that are out there?
Definitely, yeah.
Tell me a little bit. I mean, I've been out here. This is my third time out here, and this time of year, it's usually. You do catch some cohos, a mixed bag, but a lot more kings. What do you think's going on with the kings right now? I've been here all week, and you see a few here, and everybody's kind of coming back with one or two, but it's been mostly coho bags.
I think it was a combination of you beginning to make your trip over here during some real bumper crops of kings, but also the weather. We've had non-existent winters, so you've been walking right into the meat of the bite, and with really nice stable weather. So you've timed it so ideally, that's what you've seen. Not saying that it's not like that often, because it is, but this year it was just the opposite. We had a lot of ice late coming down, then it shot up in temperature, so that created a little instability there. But also, we've been plagued with east winds. We probably have had 8 out of the last 10 days has had some kind of east in it, and some of it has been very strong, enough to cause upwellings. So that's disturbing, their stability for sure. And it's not just the fish; it's the bait fish too. So once everything settles in, it's easier for us to dial in our programs.
It's early May right now. How do you see kind of the rest of your season shaping up from here?
I think we're going to have a great season. Our trout haven't been picked on at all because we've had those big year classes of kings. So we got some really big browns around. Steelhead have made a big comeback here in this lake. And, we did get a 28-pound lake trout 4 days before the Derby. It was over 40 inches long. So we've got those out there too. Like my mate Nick was saying, that, we don't really know how good the crop of kings is because of this instability. Well, we are happy to see the different year classes. We're definitely seeing different year classes, and that's always a good thing. But once it stabilizes, we'll have a better handle on that. But we're looking forward to the season. They grew very, very well. Everything's fat. So I'm thinking that, they took advantage of that heavy bait population that we've had the last 3 years.
One of the things I saw you do today, the couple of kings we had in the bag there, you were pulling scales. Tell me a little bit about that and what you've got going on there.
Super interesting. I've always participated in anything that they'll let us, voluntarily. It interests me greatly. I'm not always the most agreeable with everything that they have to say, and I think there's some good, back and forth. So I'm very willing to help them with any studies they want to do, and this is quite an extensive one, as they've taken approximately 9 years worth of female data at the hatchery. They've banked DNA from 9 years worth of females, and they can then track each parcel of flesh that we give them along with the scales to help them age the fish and provide data that way. So we collect a portion of the adipose fin and a big collection of scales, and we put those in an envelope, and we put the flesh in tubes of alcohol, and it protects them. And then we write down the data that we can get from it, like the length of the fish, where the fish was caught approximately, and then we hold on to all this. We have to get 10 samples from 3 different size classes. So we've got under 22 inches, and then 22 to 34, and then over 34. So we got to get 10 samples from each one, and then 3 of us from each region are doing this, and then we'll get it all back to Mike Connerton, who's doing the DEC portion of the study. He's helping them compile the data, and then they send the flesh out to a lab, and start comparing it to what they have already banked, and that's where they're getting their info from. We're actually going to get our first feedback in a couple weeks at a big meeting. We're looking forward to it because we've been doing this 3 seasons now, and this will be the 4th. I think that there is a concern that if it shows that it's it's a much more a wild fishery than any of us thought, that they'll do away with stocking. But I don't believe they'll do that because they know there's relatively few rivers that are pumping out the natural fish. A lot of these streams in the west end here have dams on them, and so they're not allowed to get to the best of the best habitat. But certainly there's some beautiful streams on the north shore of this lake and on the east end that are providing natural reproduction of pretty much all the species that run them in the fall. So we're excited to learn more and more about that. We definitely see some differences in the age structure. We got a lot more 2-year-old fish maturing, and there's some belief that that's because of the abundant bait. As soon as they can reach sexual maturity, they'll do their thing and mature and spawn. There's others that believe it's because we give them such a bump early in their life that that they mature early because they're growing so fast early in their life. So it's going to be interesting. That will be particularly interesting to me if there's a definitive answer with that. So yeah, anything you can learn, it's that much better for the program. But I just think it's a fantastic success story, what's happened in the entire Great Lakes, because when I was growing up, this was an absolute wasteland. And now, we got kids growing up thinking this is how it always was, and it wasn't. These nuisance alewives that you couldn't even get in the water without having them go in your mouth, now they're providing this sport fishery, and the fish keep them in control.
Tell me a little bit about that, Vince. You've been doing this for a while, 40 plus years now. What have you seen happen here kind of in your career?
So early on, it was, I would say, a lot less sophisticated. The water was continuously and very often murky, had a heavy green color to it, so it was a lot easier to fool the fish. Then we went through a period where the water got really clear, and that was when the invasion of the zebra mussels. So we had to learn to adjust. That kind of gave us a little eye to the future here on Lake Ontario, because it's the kind of clarity that they deal with in Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Superior. But that didn't last very long. I think a combination of the mussels settling into their niche, that wasn't such an explosion, having such a great impact, and also the milder winters. We're getting our color, our natural color back in the water. It isn't always a plume. It's a lot of times it's the food chain providing that color and feeding the bait fish. And it's a great advantage for us to be downstream from Lake Erie. It produces a lot of nutrients in the water and a lot of color. So we're fortunate in that way. So that was the biggest change, is the watercolor. And then, of course, the carrying capacity of the food chain has changed as they've made marked improvements in cleaning up all the tributaries and all the runoff situations. as much as people, they want to make a big deal about it when you have an organic type spill, it isn't the worst thing, because we are at the target right now as far as phosphorus levels and things like that. We're at the target. We don't want it to get too far the other direction, or you won't be able to carry as many fish in the lake. It's just the way that it is. So we're at a good spot right now. We got the color back. But on the fishery side of things, the biggest change has been the naturalization of Chinook salmon and even coho salmon. On certain streams, even steelhead, they're contributing to our fishery, because the vast knowledge of the average fisherman and the equipment available to them is light years better now than it was when I got started. So every angler is armed and dangerous. So the fact that we're getting natural contributions helps offset that, because basically this fleet on a 360 around the lake is capable of putting quite a herd on the fish. So the fact that we're getting increased numbers, and a lot of it is with fish that have adapted to this environment, is only a good thing.
You fish out of Alcott here. What do you like about it?
Oh, I absolutely love where we're located. When I first got started, even before I got my license, I traveled all over the lake, and for me it was about where can I get them all the time? Where can it be consistent? And I originally settled in Oak Orchard, which is the next port to the east. Made my home there, started my charter business there. But we often found moving east or moving west to Alcott in the spring was a good move, and provided a little more consistency with the spring salmon. So after a while, I realized, I could make that my home port all the time, and that happened in 1999, and I've been here ever since. So we're located close enough to the Niagara River to get the benefit of it, and it's a running distance, which obviously we've been doing lately, but also we're far enough away that if it gets too warm and too mossy, we don't have to deal with it. And it's almost like relating to the Gulf Stream when you're on the Atlantic Ocean. That Niagara current out here is a big draw. It's always got bait fish in it, always feeding bait fish, and then of course you bring the predators, especially the pelagic fish.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I just super positive in a time when everyone is worried about what's going on in the world around us. Never take for granted what these Great Lakes have become. It's so much better than when I was a little kid. I mean, you can go right down the chain from Superior all the way down here to Ontario, and it's up to us to protect it and get the youth involved. We see that here now more than ever. It changes kids' lives. They do the right thing. They get involved with fishing, and they have it at their doorstep. And this is all over the Great Lakes. So, that's just one of the greatest things that's going on in the world right now is the fishery and the Great Lakes.